now we will dedicate the last part, I think, of our panel to another summit that is going to take place this year, and it's going to take place in London. And we will hear from the representative of FCO what are the expectations, what are the key messages that we will heard in London, and then actually, although it's not written in this latest edition of the program, I will ask my colleague Anna Marjanović-Rudan to provide the input which was prepared by the civil society organization, because within the framework of the Berlin process, important link which was established back in 2015 was actually that host country is managing to hear and to really to send the messages taken from the civil society to the key decision makers within the process. So Matt, the floor is yours, and then I want to hear Anna. Thank you.
Thank you, Igor, and let me say it's a pleasure to be here on behalf of the UK government, and I echo all the thanks and gratitude from our previous speakers for our organisers in arranging this very interesting event. I think the views that we've heard this morning really illustrate the increasing level of engagement on the Western Balkans, both in this room and obviously outside it. And you need only look at the sheer number of events focused on the region this year to see how the region has moved really to the top of the European sort of political agenda. You could look at the EBRD Western Balkans Investment Summit in London in February, which kicked off the year, the Skopje Digital Conference in April, and of course the historic summit that will take place here in Sofia tomorrow, the first in 15 years. And I think all of these events really underscore, I believe, a shared view that even more activism is needed to support the prosperity, stability and security of the Western Balkans. And in that vein, the Western Balkans Summit in London, the fifth convened under the Berlin process, will add to that busy year of international activism. And at the outset, I can say we've been working very closely with the Bulgarian government, as well as our Berlin process partners, with civil society, and of course with the EU institutions, to ensure that our summit complements and builds on all the other events that are taking place this year. So this morning, I'd like to just take a few minutes to update you on our plans for the summit in London, and then perhaps look ahead to what comes next. So on the 9th and 10th of July, just before the NATO summit, in fact, London will play host to foreign ministers, interior ministers, and prime ministers from the Berlin process countries. So foreign ministers and interior ministers will meet in London on the 9th of July, and prime ministers meeting on the 10th, hosted by my Prime Minister, Theresa May. I'm sure all of you will already be aware, but if not, the Berlin process, launched by Chancellor Merkel in 2014, brings together the leaders of the Western Balkans region with representatives from the UK, Austria, Croatia, France, Germany, Italy, Slovenia, plus the EU institutions. This year, Poland will also join the process, as they will host the summit in 2019. And of course, I'm very pleased that our Bulgarian counterparts too will be joining us in London, given their leadership really on the region during their presidency, and of course, given tomorrow's summit. So the Berlin process is all about promoting regional cooperation and encouraging regional-led solutions to overcome the various shared challenges that we've heard so much about this morning. And the process is in effect about unlocking the potential of the region. So on 9th and 10th of July, we will take forward a threefold agenda in support of that goal. First, to promote economic stability across the region. Second, to foster cooperation on security and law enforcement challenges. And third, to support the Western Balkans to work together to overcome those political and legacy challenges that still continue to dog the region. As part of this agenda, and in conjunction with our Berlin process partners, we hope to introduce initiatives that will fight against corruption, serious and organized crime, and other security-related issues that ultimately deter investment and economic growth. And this will build on the strong work undertaken at previous summits, most notably last year's in Trieste. We will also bring the UK's expertise to bear in areas of importance to young people in the region, such as promoting digital skills and entrepreneurship. We plan to use the summit to help promote good neighbourly relations, which is so crucial for regional stability, including by revisiting the 2015 agreement on bilateral disputes, which was agreed at the Vienna summit in conjunction with civil society. Our summit's enhanced focus on security and tackling corruption is one example of how we will differentiate between other summits taking place this year, most notably Sofia. Similarly, our focus on digital skills, digitalization, etc., that demonstrates an area of shared focus across the various summits this year, where we want to achieve a cumulative impact, building on Skopje back in April and, of course, Sofia tomorrow. We have also aligned our summit goals where possible with the EU Commission's Western Balkan strategy. And of course, we are actively engaging civil society and young people from the region in our planning for the summit. And we will, of course, welcome them to London in a civil society forum to ensure a wide range of views from non-government actors. And of course, we'll hear a little bit more about this, I imagine, from Anna, but the involvement of civil society in the Berlin process, since 2015 has been of enormous value, with the Civil Society Forum really acting as a sort of continuity of thought, of ideas, of scrutiny and evaluation between the summits, and we're very eager for that to continue in London and beyond. One voice in particular that we're very keen to showcase in London will, of course, be that of the Regional Youth Cooperation Organisation, or RYCO. RYCO was set up to promote links between young people in the region in the spirit of reconciliation, and is regarded as one of the key outcomes of the Berlin process. So we look forward to them presenting on their priorities and setting out their strategy ahead when they come to London. So that's a very quick overview of what we have in store in London, but before I give up the floor, I'd like to say some words by way of conclusion on the future of the UK's engagement with the Western Balkans, on the future of the Berlin process. As I mentioned at the start, Warsaw is due to host the summit in 2019, and the UK is working closely with our Polish counterparts to ensure continuity from London through to Warsaw. But since its inception in 2014, the Berlin process has never stayed still. Instead, it has evolved organically into a series of events that run throughout the year and span increasingly varied topics: economic development, infrastructure, youth, security, anti-corruption, etc. So our hope is that the Berlin process will continue to evolve, and eventually that the region itself will take more of a lead in the process, including by eventually hosting the annual summit itself. We have seen, welcome regional leadership this year, including through the successful events in the region, such as the Skopje summit, and also through other regional events, such as the planned youth conference in Novi Sad later next month. But for many of you in this room, I imagine that your interest in the UK's future engagement with the Western Balkans is perhaps less to do with the Berlin process and perhaps more to do with our decision to leave the European Union next year. No doubt many will ask, what will be the impact of that decision on our support for the EU aspirations of the Western Balkans, which of course the Berlin process was created to support. So let me conclude by saying that while we have decided to leave the European Union, we have not changed our support for a prosperous and secure neighbourhood. And we remain of the view that the EU accession process is an important means of delivering the security, stability, prosperity that the Western Balkans region and its people deserve. So ultimately, we will continue to want to help the region continue on its path to stability, free from conflict and external influences, external malign influences, I should say, and ultimately help the region be able to tackle its own problems. This is in all of our interests in this room. It's not just the UK, it's not just the EU, it's civil society, it's the Western Balkans together. We all face many shared challenges that cross borders. Working on those together, as the Deputy Prime Minister said this morning, is very much a win-win. So let me conclude with the words of my Prime Minister who spoke at the Munich Security Conference in February, and she said, "As we leave the EU and forge a new path for ourselves in the world, the UK is just as committed to Europe's security in the future as we have been in the past. And I believe our hosting of the Western Balkans Summit in London this July will be a very clear demonstration of that commitment." Thank you.